Okay, let's unpack this. Um, you look around, and it really feels like technology is getting closer than ever before, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely.
It's not just in our pockets anymore. It's literally strapped onto people. You see smart rings, these ever smarter watches, glasses that, actually look wearable now.
Yeah.
The whole world of wearables is just exploding right now.
It really is. They're kind of shifting, aren't they? From just being cool gadgets to, well, to becoming these integral extensions of how we live, how we sense things, interact with the world around us.
Tracking, monitoring, augmenting reality.
It's all happening.
Absolutely. And this past week, specifically June 7th to the 14th, 2025, has been particularly fascinating in that space. So welcome everyone to a deep dive into this, wild, fast-moving world of wearables.
Yeah, and we've pulled together quite a stack of sources for you. We've got the latest news, some recent market reports, and frankly, some genuinely surprising research breakthroughs. It's all been compiled by our dedicated research team.
Our mission today is pretty straightforward. We want to navigate through all that information. We're here to highlight the most impactful announcements, help you understand the core trends driving all this activity.
And really get a sense of where this technology is headed next, specifically for you.
Yeah, get ready to feel truly well-informed. So buckle up, maybe check that wrist tech or finger tech you've got on right now, and let's just dive straight in.
Okay, where should we start? Maybe with some of the new hardware that's been making headlines.
Sounds good.
The past week definitely showed us where consumer-facing wearables are, focusing their energy.
And right near the top, I think, has to be augmented reality glasses. Snap Inc. You probably know them from Snapchat. They made some serious waves at the Augmented World Expo.
They really did.
They announced their next-gen AR glasses, simply called Specs, aiming for a 2026 release, apparently.
And these sound, well, pretty ambitious. Our sources are describing them as an ultra-powerful wearable computer integrated into a lightweight pair of glasses with see-through lenses. But the real differentiator they seem to be pushing is this focus on advanced machine learning and, crucially, onboard AI, specifically designed to understand the wearer's immediate environment.
Okay, hang on. Understanding the environment. Why is that such a big deal? Why is that the game changer for AR glasses?
Well, because that environmental awareness, powered by the AI, that's what lets you have truly seamless experiences while you're looking at the actual world.
Right.
Think about real-time translation just overlaid on what someone is saying right in front of you, or having an AI assistant integrated right into your field of view, or even interactive games and productivity tools that actually react to the real objects and spaces around you instead of just putting static graphics over everything. It feels like Snap is making a really clear play here. They're positioning themselves against the giants, Meta, Apple, showing that truly intelligent, kind of everyday AR eyewear is fast becoming a consumer reality.
That makes a lot of sense. So it's not just projecting images onto your view, it's making the digital stuff interact intelligently with your physical world because it understands it.
Yeah.
Okay, what else hit the consumer market this week?
Well, shifting over to wrists, Garmin threw a bit of a curveball, didn't they, with the launch of their Venue X1 smartwatch?
Yes. I saw that. Priced at, what was it, $799.99?
Right.
That puts it squarely in that premium high-end category. So what makes this one stand out enough to command that kind of price?
Well, first off, despite targeting that sleek premium look, it's remarkably ultra-thin. That's one thing.
Okay.
It also boasts Garmin's largest watch screen. It's a 2-inch square AMOLED display. That's actually even bigger than the Apple Watch Ultra 2.
Wow.
But here's the real kicker, I think. Despite that big, bright screen, our research team highlights Garmin is claiming up to 8 days of battery life.
8 days. Seriously, at that screen size and in that premium space, that is a huge difference compared to a lot of the competitors where, let's be honest, you're often charging daily, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's a major selling point. It also packs in on-device maps. They've improved the interface, and it has a built-in speaker and mic for taking calls directly on the watch. This launch really signals that Garmin isn't just sticking to their, traditional athletic niche. They're directly challenging the premium players like Apple.
Right.
And they're doing it by bringing their historical strength, that amazing battery longevity and robust features, to a more mainstream but still high-end consumer device.
So balancing that sleek design with some serious endurance. Interesting move. Okay, moving beyond just our personal gadgets, it seems like wearables are also making some significant, maybe less visible progress in the workplace too.
Oh, absolutely. We definitely saw news this week underscoring that enterprise adoption, particularly focused on workplace safety.
Right.
Our research team highlighted a partnership between Nationwide Insurance and a startup called Kinetic. They're equipping warehouse workers, delivery drivers with these AI-powered wearable sensors.
Okay, these sound like fairly simple sensors you wear on your hip, right? But what are they actually doing?
So they use machine learning to detect risky physical movements. Think about improper lifting techniques or awkward postures, that kind of thing.
Gotcha.
And they provide immediate vibration feedback right back to the worker.
So it's giving them like real-time coaching before an injury might happen.
Precisely that, yeah. There was a case study conducted at Mid-Ohio Food Collective that actually demonstrated tangible safety improvements using these.
Mhm.
It's a really strong example, I think, of how enterprise wearables aren't always the flashy consumer tech we see. Sometimes they're these targeted, integrated solutions focused squarely on improving ergonomics, preventing injuries.
And ultimately lowering workers' comp incidents, I imagine.
Exactly. They're sort of quietly becoming these essential tools for industrial productivity and safety.
It's really powerful to see the tech applied in that specific way.
Yeah.
Now, beyond the commercial and the workplace world, this past week also brought some incredible news from the medical and research fronts, really hinting at the future.
Definitely. On the health side, there's a company called GlucoTrack. They're preparing to showcase a next-generation continuous blood glucose monitor, or CGM.
Okay.
What's really unique about this device is its design. It's a long-term implantable CGM.
Implantable.
Yeah.
It can apparently measure blood glucose levels directly for up to 3 years without needing any external transmitter attached to the skin.
Wait, 3 years implantable.
Yeah.
That sounds potentially life-altering for millions of people with diabetes who are constantly managing those traditional skin-worn sensors every, week or two?
It really could be a game changer. Just for adherence, for convenience, a massive difference.
Why?
And then on the pure research side, engineers down in Brazil developed something really interesting called NavWear. It's a wearable system designed specifically to assist blind and visually impaired individuals.
Okay, how does that work?
It cleverly packages a depth-sensing camera and a mini computer into like a backpack.
Right.
And then it uses vibrating feedback delivered through shoulder straps to alert the user to obstacles in their path.
So it's giving them a kind of spatial awareness through haptics, like
Yeah.
a sort of highly augmented smart cane experience.
That's a great way to put it, yeah. Early trials showed it really improved mobility and confidence for the users. It just underscores how research institutions are leveraging wearable tech to address these highly specialized needs, like advanced assistive navigation. It shows the breadth of application beyond just mainstream health or fitness tracking.
It's truly remarkable how adaptable this technology is becoming, from helping people navigate the world differently to preventing injuries at work to providing really long-term medical monitoring.
And kind of underpinning all of this, right, are the advancements happening in the sensors themselves and the intelligence they're gaining, often through AI. We saw some significant news this week in biometric sensors and even neural interfaces.
Yeah, let's talk about the health features we're increasingly just expecting now on devices like smartwatches. At Apple's WWDC 25 event, they unveiled watchOS 26, and one of the highlights was this new AI-powered coaching feature called Workout Buddy.
Right. This basically acts as a personalized fitness coach living right there on your Apple Watch. It uses on-device AI that's important, it's happening on the watch itself, to provide real-time motivational feedback and tailored insights during your exercise sessions.
So, what does it actually do?
It can dynamically give you a little pep talk, it can remind you of your goals, maybe nudge you to hit your activity targets for the day, and even sort of cheer you on based on your live metrics like your mile splits or heart rate.
That seems like a really significant step.
Yeah.
It's turning that raw sensor data into intelligent, proactive, personalized coaching. It's data analysis happening, like you said, while you're actually doing the thing.
Exactly. It moves beyond just presenting you with numbers after the fact to actually using those numbers to guide your behavior right in the moment. And then on the core sensor technology side, continuous glucose monitoring CGM, again, so another important iteration. Dexcom's latest G7 model is now cleared for 15 days of wear per sensor.
15 days. That's quite a jump.
It is. That sets a new standard for the longest duration for any CGM currently available. It's a definite quality of life enhancement for users, reducing how often they need to change it.
Makes sense. 15 days is much better than 7 or 10.
Yeah.
What about tracking things other than glucose? Any breakthroughs there?
Yeah, actually, Researchers at UC Berkeley demonstrated a really interesting innovation, a thin, highly breathable wearable sweat sensor.
Okay, a sweat sensor. What's new about that?
Well, what's clever about it is it measures skin conductance to infer your hydration levels in real time. But unlike some older sensors that could get kind of overwhelmed if you were sweating heavily.
Right, they get saturated.
Exactly. This new design actually allows sweat to evaporate through the sensor itself,
Oh.
which enables continuous, accurate monitoring even during intense physical activity.
So you could imagine something like this integrated into, say, a watch band that could genuinely warn you if you're getting dehydrated during a run, or maybe even stressed based on sweat cues.
Precisely. These advancements really highlight how wearables are becoming more sophisticated, more accurate, and frankly more comfortable for various types of health monitoring. They're developing these new, non-invasive ways to measure vital indicators.
And pushing the boundaries of measurement even further, we had some major news this week from the absolute cutting edge. Brain-computer interfaces, or BCIs.
Yeah, Neuralink, which is Elon Musk's startup in this space, they secured a massive $650 million funding round this past week.
Wow.
And it comes as they're moving deeper into their human trials. They reported that their implanted brain chip is now being used by 5 human patients, all with severe paralysis.
And what are they doing with it?
They're allowing them to control digital devices, cursors, keyboards purely by thought.
Wow. Controlling a cursor or typing just with your mind? I mean, this still feels like science fiction, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Even though we know it's happening right now.
It absolutely does. And these trials aren't just isolated experiments. The FDA has actually granted Neuralink breakthrough device designations for BCIs specifically aimed at restoring speech and even providing vision prostheses.
So real clinical applications being targeted.
Right. These updates signal that this neural interface technology is rapidly progressing towards, well, clinical reality. It's significantly blurring the line between what we typically think of as wearable technology and these implantable devices.
It's such a huge leap, isn't it? From tracking your steps to potentially reading thought patterns. This isn't just about data collection anymore. It's moving towards direct neural interaction. It makes you think about the incredible potential, obviously, but also the immense complexities that come with it.
And, connecting all this data that's being generated is really the next critical step for wearables. We're seeing them increasingly integrate with healthcare systems and leverage these powerful AI platforms to actually make sense of everything they're collecting.
Yeah, our sources definitely highlight ongoing trends in this area. Device makers are actively building better connections between their wearables and the wider health ecosystem.
Right.
That Dexcom CGM we mentioned earlier, for instance. It can now push glucose data directly to an Apple Watch. And from there, it can flow into health apps or even potentially directly to clinicians who are overseeing a patient's care.
And we're seeing hospitals and insurers actively starting to utilize this wearable data for things like remote patient monitoring, even preventive care strategies. The American Medical Association actually noted the acceleration of remote monitoring via wearables and their integration into electronic health records, or EHRs.
So doctors could potentially get real-time alerts or insights directly from their patient's devices while a patient is just at home.
Exactly. That feels like a pretty significant shift, doesn't it? Moving from these intermittent checkups in the clinic to more continuous oversight based on real-world, real-time data.
It absolutely is.
And the sheer volume of data generated by wearables is increasingly feeding these sophisticated AI-driven health analytics platforms. You mentioned Apple Intelligence, their new AI platform.
Yeah.
Well, for instance, it can use the on-device machine learning happening on the Apple Watch to intelligently prompt you, maybe remind you to log your medication, or perhaps suggest starting a mindfulness session based on analyzing sensor cues and your historical routine.
So the watch isn't just passively collecting data anymore. It's using AI to understand your patterns and proactively suggest beneficial actions based on that understanding.
Exactly right. It's moving towards this idea of predictive and proactive health support.
Okay.
And research is really starting to leverage these large-scale wearable data sets, too. There was a study out of the University of Tokyo that showed that by analyzing patterns in continuous glucose monitor readings, even from healthy individuals, AI models could potentially reveal these really early, subtle signs of diabetes risk that might be completely missed by traditional, one-off lab tests.
That's really fascinating. It suggests these everyday devices we wear could actually evolve into powerful tools for early diagnosis and highly personalized preventive medicine, not just, personal fitness trackers.
Yeah, the lines between consumer wearables and true clinical tools are definitely blurring. And data interoperability and AI analysis are absolutely key to turning these gadgets into genuinely valuable connected health monitors.
Speaking of the market itself, this past week brought some interesting insights into who's leading the charge and maybe where the growth is concentrated right now.
Yeah, definitely. After a slight dip last year, the global wearables market seems to be back on a pretty strong upward trajectory. New data compiled by our research team for the first quarter of 2025 shows worldwide shipments grew a healthy 10.5% year over year.
That's solid growth. That's pretty good. But our research also pointed to a notable shift in the top players, didn't it?
It did, yeah. Kind of surprising, maybe. Huawei actually vaulted into the #1 position globally for wrist-worn wearables in Q1.
Really. Number one.
Number one, they shipped roughly 10 million units, capturing about 21.9% market share, just edging out Xiaomi and Apple, who came in second and third, respectively.
And Xiaomi saw huge growth too, right?
Right.
Wasn't it something like 42% year over year?
Massive growth, yeah.
Yeah.
Driven by incredibly strong demand, particularly within China.
Okay.
Apple's shipments, meanwhile, grew a bit more modestly, which just highlights how intense the competition is becoming. The report attributes a significant chunk of this overall market surge to the booming market within China itself,
Oh.
where local brands like Huawei and Xiaomi are just driving immense adoption and innovating really rapidly.
So it looks like a healthy market recovery overall, but the landscape is definitely evolving. We're seeing Chinese vendors gaining significant grounds globally, fueled by consumer demand for new features and maybe new form factors beyond just the standard smartwatch.
And, on the manufacturing side, we're seeing companies leveraging new technologies to make their devices stand out and improve performance. Display innovation is a really key area here. Our sources indicate Apple might be looking at using something called liquid glass for future watch UIs, maybe to make them more vibrant. While Huawei is apparently incorporating these high-performance tandem OLED screens, which they previously used in their tablets, into their watches for better brightness and power efficiency.
And just the ability to make devices ultra thin, like that Garmin Venu X1 we talked about, even with these big screens and still decent batteries, that points to these quiet but crucial improvements happening deeper down in the supply chain, right? Like battery energy density, processor efficiency.
Absolutely. That enabling technology is key. And specialized silicon, particularly for things like AR glasses and all that always-on AI processing needed for features like Apple's Workout Buddy. That was a big topic at conferences like AWE this past week.
Oh, yeah.
The whole supply chain is maturing. It's creating these highly specialized components at scale to support this next generation of diverse wearable devices, everything from sophisticated AR handsets down to simple smart rings.
And user adoption is definitely broadening out, isn't it? It feels like it's moving well beyond just the early tech enthusiasts now.
For sure.
We're seeing wearables penetrate totally new segments. You've got specialized adventure watches for serious outdoor types, AR glasses being designed for mainstream social use, and those enterprise sensors we mentioned making their way into more blue-collar jobs.
Yeah, and surveys cited by the research team show users aren't just buying these devices anymore. They're actively using the more advanced health features. Things like ECGs, stress monitoring, contactless payments. People are actually engaging with them.
Right.
And those new form factors we mentioned, they're really starting to gain traction.
Smart rings are a perfect example there, I think, offering an alternative for people who want the tracking and interaction, maybe without having a device strapped to their wrist all the time.
Exactly. Rings from companies like Aura are, a big part of the conversation. The heavily rumored Samsung Galaxy Ring continues to build anticipation.
Still waiting on that one.
Still waiting. And our sources even pointed to Apple patent filings suggesting they are exploring a smart ring concept too, potentially one that could control other devices via gestures. The industry is clearly experimenting. It's moving into the mass market by offering more variety in how you can actually wear this technology.
It really sounds like wearable tech isn't just getting smarter. It's getting more comfortable. It's getting more personalized in its fit, maybe more stylish, and just integrating into daily life in increasingly subtle and hopefully intuitive ways.
Exactly. And, that brings us nicely to the focus on design and ergonomics and some truly fascinating intellectual property filings that were revealed this week. Because comfort is paramount, right? If you're going to wear something all day, every day, It absolutely has to feel right.
Yeah, definitely. Apple, for example, was granted a patent related to their Apple Glasses concept, and it puts a lot of emphasis on lens position sensing, seemingly to automatically adjust the fit.
Yeah, the patent describes the device potentially detecting specific facial features, like, say, your nose bridge, and then physically moving the lenses or maybe other frame components for optimal alignment. The goal seems to be a really precise, personalized fit across different face shapes.
Why is that so important?
Well, it maximizes both comfort during extended wear, which is crucial, but also the optical clarity for the AR displays. It's tackling those core ergonomic challenges head on.
That focus on achieving the perfect fit seems like a bit of a theme across the industry now. I think Meta and Microsoft have also explored adjustable designs in some of their own headset patents, and Snap even highlighted the lightweight design of their new specs as being crucial for that daily wearability.
Right. And beyond just fit, those intellectual property filings hint at exploring entirely new form factors, showing where companies are thinking about wearable experiences expanding, across the body. We saw those Apple patent filings that strongly suggest they are revisiting the concept of smart rings as a key part of their ecosystem.
A ring packed with sensors and haptics. One that could potentially act as a motion controller or maybe even an authentication token. That's a really intriguing idea.
Yeah, it could potentially detect things like 3D position, subtle gestures, maybe even pressure. It essentially acts as this tiny wearable interface, right? Or a way to interact with other devices' UIs without needing to look at a screen. It definitely shows Apple's interest in expanding the wearable experience beyond just the wrist, maybe complementing a watch or offering a standalone alternative for certain kinds of interactions.
And my personal favorite wildcard from the patents this week. Foldable wearables. Do you see that?
Yes, that was pretty out there. One particularly speculative Apple patent detailed a concept for a foldable Apple Watch.
What did it look like?
It described a design with two movable display sections and potentially even embedded cameras.
A folding watch. That could maybe morph into a small phone-like device or just change shape somehow. I mean, while it might remain purely conceptual for now,
Oh, almost certainly.
it really illustrates how companies are actively experimenting with these, radical design innovations to try and improve versatility and usability for devices we wear right on our bodies.
And these design patents, coupled with insights on user experience from companies like Snap, who are focusing on making technology feel more human and less intrusive, they highlight a really crucial point, I think. As wearable tech matures, success isn't just about jamming in more features.
Right.
It's increasingly about refining the experience of wearing and interacting with these devices.
Like Apple's new liquid glass UI philosophy they talked about for watchOS 26, aiming to make information glanceable and, quote, delightful, blending seamlessly with the watch's physical design.
Exactly. Those are essential details for devices that are literally becoming extensions of ourselves.
Whether it's Garmin managing to keep the Venu X1 ultra-thin despite having that huge screen, or Huawei adding new gesture controls, it all seems to point towards making these devices feel more intuitive, less like separate gadgets we have to manage.
And more like natural parts of our bodies.
Yeah. And as these, intimate extensions become more deeply integrated, collecting incredibly personal data about us 24/7, we're starting to see some truly disruptive new business models emerge around that very data.
This is a big one. This week, in particular, highlighted companies exploring ways to directly pay you for your health information.
Pay me.
Yeah, directly. It fundamentally challenges that traditional model where you essentially give up your data privacy in exchange for using the features, right? Our research team actually refers to this concept as personal data sovereignty.
Okay, tell us more about this. Who's actually doing this? Give us an example.
Okay, one example is a company called Axon AO. They launched something called the Cure Ring. It's a health tracking smart ring, but it's explicitly built on this principle.
Okay.
You buy the ring, you use it consistently to generate your health data, and they actually give you half the purchase price back in their native cryptocurrency token, which is called AXGT.
So they're literally paying you back in crypto for generating data with their device.
Yes, and they really emphasize using blockchain technology and strong encryption to ensure that users retain full ownership and control of their health data. Users can then potentially monetize it further by choosing to share anonymized data with approved researchers on the platform in exchange for additional rewards.
Fascinating. Are there any other examples of this kind of model popping up?
Yeah, another company our research highlighted is called HealthCoin Lifestyle. They announced a platform that offers AI coaching and supports third-party wearables. Their roadmap explicitly includes wallet features and rewarding user engagement, likely through a similar token-based economy tied to generating and potentially sharing your data.
These launches, they present a really interesting alternative, don't they, to the dominant model where, let's face it, big tech companies collect vast amounts of our user data, often with pretty limited transparency on exactly how it's used or monetized. This kind of flips that value exchange.
It really does. It forces a direct conversation. Is my highly personal health data simply a resource for companies to use to improve their products and algorithms? Or is it actually a valuable asset that I should have control over and potentially even be compensated for sharing?
Yeah.
This model could definitely attract privacy-conscious users. And it certainly sets up a potential competitive battleground around data ownership in the whole wearable space.
That said, it's probably important to acknowledge these significant challenges that are inherent in this model, and indeed for wearables overall as they collect more and more sensitive data about us.
Oh, absolutely. Data privacy and security remain absolutely paramount concerns. You're dealing with such intimate personal information. Ensuring strict adherence to regulations like HIPAA in the US or GDPR in Europe is just non-negotiable if you want to build user trust.
Yeah, you have to get that right.
And sensor accuracy and reliability are still ongoing hurdles across the industry. While devices have become incredibly accurate for certain things, like, say, detecting irregular heart rhythms, variability still exists, especially in real-world conditions or for less common measurements.
Right.
This whole data quality problem needs consistent effort and improvement. For wearables to be universally trusted as tools for, say, actual diagnosis or truly critical health management, the data they produce just has to be unimpeachable.
Makes sense.
And finally, there's just the sheer volume of data being generated by all these devices.
Ah, yes, the fire hose of data problem, as they call it.
Exactly that. For this constant stream of information to be genuinely useful, especially clinically useful, AI platforms and healthcare systems need really robust ways to aggregate it, standardize it, and crucially, distill it into something meaningful.
Because clinicians can't possibly sift through terabytes of raw sensor data.
No way. They need clear, actionable insights and alerts, not just overwhelming fire hoses of numbers.
You know, we love hearing your thoughts on these cutting-edge topics. So whether you're watching us on YouTube or listening on your favorite podcast app, please do leave a comment and let us know what you think about this week's wearable tech news. Are you ready for truly intelligent AR glasses? Maybe even a folding watch? Or perhaps you're intrigued by a smart ring that actually pays you for your health data? Let us know.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground today in this deep dive.
You really have.
Everything from brand new smartwatches hitting the market, sophisticated AR glasses getting closer to reality, incredible advances in health sensors.
The rapid progress of brain interfaces, these disruptive new business models centered on your data, and even those speculative concepts like folding watches.
We saw clear evidence that the wearable market isn't just growing, it's really segmenting and diversifying. You've got these distinct battles shaping up between high-end fitness trackers, medical-grade health devices, and entirely new form factors like rings and glasses that are gaining serious momentum.
And AI, we've seen, it's no longer just an added feature, is it? It's becoming absolutely foundational to how wearables provide those personalized insights, the real-time coaching, even predictive health alerts. It's turning all that raw data into genuinely actionable guidance.
And we touched on those foundational breakthroughs in sensor technology and neural interfaces that are truly pushing the boundaries of what's possible, moving towards more comfortable, more accurate, and sometimes even less visible methods of interaction and measurement.
And perhaps most disruptively, that whole model of data ownership and value is being seriously challenged now by companies actively exploring ways to directly pay you for the intimate health information your devices collect.
So this is technology that is literally getting closer to you than ever before. It's strapped onto your body, constantly sensing your health, potentially even interacting directly with your thoughts someday soon.
It's not just changing the gadgets we buy. It's really changing how we live, how we work, and fundamentally, how we manage our own well-being.
So, as wearables become this deeply integrated into our lives, collecting this incredibly personal biometric and maybe even neural data down the line, it leaves us with a pretty fundamental question to consider, doesn't it?
Yeah, what's that?
Who truly owns this intimate data about you? And as these devices become such powerful extensions of ourselves, how do we ensure they remain tools that genuinely empower us?
Rather than simply becoming new, even more efficient ways for companies to collect information about us.
It's a crucial question, I think, for the future we are quite literally strapping ourselves into.
A perfect thought to end on. Thanks everyone for joining us for this deep dive. And for our listeners on YouTube, if you found this insightful, please take just a moment to like this video, subscribe to Tomorrow Unveiled, and be sure to turn on notifications so you never miss an update on the future.
And if you're listening on a podcast service like Apple Podcasts or Spotify, we'd be incredibly grateful if you could leave us a rating and maybe a quick review. It truly helps us reach new listeners who are curious about these topics. Thanks again for tuning in.